Hi there. I'm Ross Zimmerman, and I came to Tucson in the summer of 1978 to get my PhD in the entomology department here. And I had started running at my previous graduate school in Indiana University, and done my first marathon. And when I got accepted here, I'd visited here, I knew about the mountains, and I knew I wanted to run in the mountains. I was positive of that. I ended up going on a hike with some friends up into the Rincon Mountains, and decided we camped at Juniper Basin, if I remember correctly. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning and run up to the top of Mica and back down. And I got about as far as Cowhead Saddle, and it was really fun, and I was really exhausted, and realized there was no way in the world I was going to make it up to Mica. So that was kind of my introduction. And then I focused for a while on training for the Fiesta Bowl marathon, which was my second marathon. But I heard rumors of this guy, this atmospheric sciences professor, Ken Young, who was putting on runs in the mountains. And I got a hold of Ken. I forget exactly how. I probably called him because we didn't have email then. And he said, yeah, show up at the Espero Canyon run at Sabino Canyon. This was in March of 1979. And there were 3 other people when I got there, and it took me 5 hours. At the top out, we saw Ken's footprints going 3 different directions in the snow, couldn't figure out, and then Jim Shea and I figured out how to do it. I whacked my knee, the worst I've ever whacked it, and when I was done, I was exhausted. It was the longest I'd ever been out in my whole life. And I loved it. I got to do more of this. And Ken's regular series, I then had some injury issues I had to deal with for a few months. But then Ken's regular series was starting up in the fall. And I was focused on the idea of Bear Canyon Loop. And I did it for the first time, had to walk on what I think is the last hill that might be what Gene says they called Cardiac Hill. And it took me 3 hours and 18 minutes, and it's like, oh, this is hard. Although I later learned it was arguably the flattest and easiest of the TTR runs. So I did several more training runs with my then friend Jim Plackey, where there's other interesting stories. But when I was chasing Jim around there, and we did it in like 2:20, I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't know I could move this fast and not, break a leg. And then we had the first, the fall edition of the Bear Canyon Loop. And in those days, the runs were races, not runs. Ken was very competitive, and yes, I was very competitive also. I liked racing, and it was a very intense day. I ran as hard as I could. I was like the 3rd finisher in a smidge under 2 hours. And of course that should tell you that there were 2 guys in front of me who were significantly faster than 2 hours. And from there on, I was hooked on the trail run series, trained for them very vigorously, and kept doing the trail runs. And I used Bear Canyon as my time trial, and I also ended up using it as my easy 2nd day run on the weekends, where I would do a hard run on Saturday, and then on Sunday I'd do Bear Canyon in like 240 or 245, and that was good endurance training. And that kept up until my first 100-mile foot race in 1982 when I went to California and ran something called the Pacific Crest Trail 100, which no longer exists. But my last time trial before that run was also the last time I successfully went under 2 hours on there. And after that, I backed off of running for a while to do things like finish my PhD, establish a career, help raise kids, and was horrified when I started running more again to realize that I'd slowed down and that my opportunities to do things like that really fast were in my past. But I continued doing bear for many years, not at the level that Gene did, where he'd do it in and out. And Gene has aged very well as a runner and has given up as little to age as possible. I was aging halfway gracefully until my 40s, and then the bottom dropped out because of my biomechanical issues. And of course at age 50 I started riding bikes and things like that. And these days I don't run at all, to speak of. But I have a long history with bear. I would say it's what's special about the course. It's by far the flattest and easiest of the original Tucson trail runs that Ken laid out. So it was the best course for young people who had good leg speed to run hard and put in good times. And it's a good long run when you're training for faster runs like pavement marathons, and you want to use bear as your weekly long run. Other runs like Cowhead Saddle are just enough more rugged that you can't do the same kind of sustained pace on those that you could on bear. Now, in the 21st century, bear is not what it was. It's a more rugged course. There's more breaks, there's more washouts, there's places where you have to go around things. It has been, the last time anybody went under 2 hours on Bear Canyon Loop was, I think, in 1983. So if somebody in 2020 or 21 can go under 2 hours on Bear Canyon Loop, I'll be very, very, very impressed.